Homeland Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen booed at Mexican restaurant. Protesters have barracked at Trump administration official as she dined at a Mexican restaurant in Washington, D.C. The activists heckled Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen at the eatery near the White House. The Trump administration is facing international pressure to drop its new policy of taking migrant children from their parents. They include babies and toddlers sent to 3 tender age shelters, the Associated Press news agency reports. The Metro D.C. Democratic Socialists of America claimed responsibility for Tuesday evening's protest against the Homeland Security Secretary. Her security detail kept the demonstrators from approaching too near her table at the back of the restaurant. The activists shouted, "How do you sleep at night? If kids don't eat in peace, you don't eat in peace. Do you hear the babies crying? Aren't you a mother, too?" President Donald Trump has said the Homeland Security Secretary did a fabulous job defending the policy at a news conference this week. Meanwhile, a former Trump campaign manager made fun of a story about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was reportedly separated from her mother after crossing the border illegally. Appearing on Tuesday on Fox News, Corey Lewandowski said "Womp, womp," as a Democratic Party aide said the girl had been taken from her mother and put in a cage. The Democratic advisor, Zach Bedkines, shouted repeatedly, "How dare you!" The unconfirmed report of the so-called tender age shelters for babies and toddlers drove an MSNBC News anchor on Tuesday night to almost break down in tears. When she first received the breaking news report from the Associated Press, Rachel Maddow paused. Video.
Bueno, aquí tenemos una orquesta. ¿De dónde son ustedes? ¿Y tú?
Guatemala.
No llores. Vas a llegar con... Mira, ella te va a explicar y te va a ayudar. ¿Cierto? Porque...
Te va a pasar con tu computador. Papá.
Have you seen the photos of children in cages? Have you heard the audio clip of these children wailing that just came out today?
I have not seen something that came out today, but I have been to detention centers. And again, I would reference you to our standards. I would reference you to the care provided, not just by the Department of Homeland Security, but by the Department of Health and Human Services when they get to HHS. The image that I want of this country is an immigration system that secures our borders and upholds our humanitarian ideals. Congress needs to fix it. Yes.
This is incredible. Trump administration officials have been sending babies and other young children. She trailed off, before covering her mouth and saying she was unable to continue. There is anecdotal evidence that the Trump administration's zero-tolerance crackdown, launched last month, may be achieving its objective of deterring migrants crossing the border illegally. Salvadoran postman San Epigmania told Reuters news agency he hoped to cross the Mexican border into the U.S. in the coming months. But the 40-year-old said he and his wife have postponed their plans for fear of being separated from their 2 sons, Axel, 9, and Stephen, 3. He said he was fleeing gang violence at home. As things stand today, it's difficult, because if you get caught, they take your kids away. I think I'm going to stay here, in Mexico, and establish myself. Another Salvadoran migrant, Lucia Carmen Flores Sanchez, who is traveling overland with her 8-year-old daughter, told the New York Times a similar story. More on child migrants crisis. Video.
Living on the border, I had some idea of the Border Patrol, because we see them out there. Border Patrol are stopping immigrants.
support system. We're not bad guys. We're here to help the community, and we want to see the community grow. Discipline, learn something that I would like to do in my future career.
Not playing because of interest, not just in Border Patrol, but exploring the aspect of possibly going into law enforcement. And they want to know if this is something they're going to do in the long run.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Zero tolerance policy letting border security agents separate the children of immigrants.
Death is now raising questions about U.S. Border Patrol's response.
We're not bad guys. We want the kids to mature without the risk of maybe falling into the trap of narcotics or drugs. I'm sure that some parents have their reservations. I know that some kids have told me in the past that their parents aren't super supportive of it. And in the end, it's really, we know what we're doing. We know we're doing the right thing. We try to motivate each other. It's not, especially the ones that stay behind. I get them falling apart. Because if I do it, he has to do it. Nobody do it, nobody do it. It's not just physical, it's also mental. It's something difficult. Maybe your body can handle it, but your mind, you're like, when is this going to end? That's the most hard part. Because your mind is not as strong as your body.
Some of the guys that been here and all that, we find it very driven. They're going to move forward and help each other out. They're very comfortable with themselves.
I would think that most of the day of the Border Patrol, they spent just waiting around to catch people. And once I actually entered the program, I noticed that they did a lot more than just waiting, and that their job was a lot harder than it seems. Here, you really have to learn how to speak to people, how to project yourself. It's called officer presence, because usually just by talking to someone, you can diffuse a situation that could otherwise be painful.
It's not tough. Looking at it, you see like more of the character, you see leadership skills. I'll say that. Mostly skills for character. I want to be an agent because I want to make a change in the world. I feel like this way I can really